kathamritam tapta jivanam kavibhiriritam kalmashapaham Sravanamangalam Srimadatam Bhuvi Grananti Ye Bhurida Jana. The master with the Brahmo devotees. So the master, after few minutes, that's as per the previous day's discussion, followed by the present day discussion for this Sri Ramakrishna continued. The members of the Brahma Samaj do not accept God with form. Narendra says that God with form is a mere idol. He says further, what? He still goes to the Kali temple? So here we find the Narendranath evolving. So he was himself a member of the Brahma Samaj and he has started visiting Sri Ramakrishna. And as we know, as per the Brahma Samaj, they believe in God, which is Saguna Nirakar. That he is compassionate, he has the gunas, he has various gunas. He is the compassionate one, he is the all-knowing one. So those gunas are there, but he has no form. That's what most of the dualistic religion believes in. So that's why we find Naren being highly influenced by the ideologies of the Brahma Samaj. He was a member of that Brahma Samaj. And he has started visiting Sri Ramakrishna. That Ramakrishna, of course, was such a personality that Naren did feel tremendously attracted towards that. But he could but at that time still he was yet to accept the idol worship, and that's what he's saying. That he still goes to the Kali temple. That the idea of Naren was at that time that even if you are an idol worshipper, holding on to the ideal, holding on to the idol when you have realized, you have went to the realization, the idol worship is supposed to fall off. So he still goes to the Kali temple. Such remark indicates as if he is doubting that whether he has really went to that ultimate realization. That what? He still goes to the Kali temple. Narendra says that God with form is a mere idol. So we find that he is yet to evolve to that state. We find in another 1 year, he will be accepting Mother Kali. If you all remember that story, very nice incidents in the life of Sri Ramakrishna and Narendranath, that after the passing away of Vishwanath Datta, Narendranath's father, Narendranath was going through a tremendous financial hardship. Even to procure the bare sustenance for the family, that was a big challenge for him. And then finding no other way, one day he came to Sri Ramakrishna and asked that why not you pray to your mother for my bare sustenance. And Sri Ramakrishna said that you don't believe in mother. What can I do? And when Naren insisted, we find that Sri Ramakrishna is asking Naren that why not you yourself go to the mother and ask for the boon which you deserve, which you are asking for to me, that you go and ask to the mother. Will mother listen? You go and ask. Yes, of course she will listen. And we find that wonderful incident that Naren goes to the mother, and there the description is, Naren feels that here he is saying that 1 year back he was saying that this is just a mere idol. And here the Narayan for the first time going to pray to the Mother Kali, and he feels as if the living presence of the divine, the entire shrine is being illumined by the living presence of the divine. And in presence of that divine, that magnanimous present, Naren forgot about his prayer. That he was there supposed to ask for the financial the support for his family. And what instead he was asking for? Tyaga Vairagya, Viveka Vairagya, this Jnana, this renunciation, knowledge, all the spiritual traits he was asking for. And after that, when he came out, he went to Ramakrishna. Ramakrishna asked, "Have you asked to the mother?" He told, "Oh, I forgot." And then Sri Ramakrishna again sent him to the Mother Kali in the Kali temple. And we find it happened thrice. And Sri Narayan couldn't pray for for the sustenance, for his bare sustenance he couldn't pray for. The last time when he went, he did remember that he was supposed to ask for this financial support. But he felt very much embarrassed that in the magnanimous presence of the divine, living presence of the divine, how can he ask for such small trivial things? He was ashamed. He couldn't ask. And he came back and confessed to Sri Ramakrishna that it is not possible for him to ask in the presence of Mother for such small things. And then Sri Ramakrishna at last blessed him by saying that that in the Bengali it is called Mota Bhat Kaporer Abhav Habe Na, that there for the bare sustenance for your family, that is assured, know it for certain. Sri Ramakrishna assures that. And he was so happy that Narayan has accepted the Divine Mother. So he has evolved. He has accepted. Today he went and prayed to the Mother. And then Sri Ramakrishna taught Narayan a song, Ma Tvang Hitara. There is a song on the Divine Mother. Sri Ramakrishna taught Narayan, and Narayan throughout the night, he was singing with full of devotion that song. And next day morning we find whoever came to Dakshineshwar, Sri Ramakrishna was happy like a child, elated. He was just running about and just was saying that Narayan has accepted Kali. Narayan has accepted Mother Kali. And he was so happy. So just see this transformation. So here we find Narayan is yet to evolve to that state. We find Sri Ramakrishna, whenever someone is to say that this statue is made of stone, Sri Ramakrishna immediately will say, no, it is Mrinmai. It is not Mrinmai, it is Chinmai. Mrinmai means anything made of clay. This Mrittika, that's from anything which is made from Mrittika, this clay is Mrinmai. And anything which is an expression of the manifestation of the consciousness, Chit Swarupa, that is Chinmai. So he used to say that Mother is not Mrinmai, she is Chinmai. There is a living presence there of the divine in the Kali temple. And this is the concept we find even in Vishishtadvaita, Ramanujacharya, how nicely he used to say that God is present everywhere. This entire universe is a manifestation of the divine. Then how can you just say that in the ideal God is not there? Then that will be restricting his omniscience, omnipotence, omnipresence. That will be restricting. So he is present everywhere, even on the image. And not only that though God is present everywhere, his manifestation is palpably felt in some of the places more tangibly, more palpably is felt. And as Ramanuja used to say, that the divine manifests spatially in the idol. That's why he used to call the idol Archavataram, where the devotees do Archana, the idol, in which he comes down, he incarnates in a special way. Avataram means to come down. That archa, that where the devotees are doing archana. So in that idol, he comes down and has a special manifestation there. So that's the idea which we find in the scriptures. Everywhere it's mentioned. So it's this feeling the presence of the divine in the deity is the very first. Unless you have that feeling of the presence of the divine, our meditation, our worship will become mechanical. No one worships the idol thinking just it's an idol. The idol is just there as a stimulator. It stimulates the divinity which is within us, which is in entire existence. So that idol is not something which is inert. If I take it inert, I can never have a loving relationship with the divine. I know it's a living presence. A devotee knows it's a living presence, and then only that the devotee can relate to that idol, the so-called idol, with devotion, with love. So we have to feel that living presence of the divine in the image. So Naren was yet to evolve to that state. That's why Sri Ramakrishna is saying that the members of the Brahmo Samaj do not accept God with form. Narendra says that God with form is a mere idol. He says further, what? He still goes to the Kali temple? Sri Ramakrishna and his party arrived at Balaram's house. Yajnanath of Nandan Bagan came to invite the master to his house at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Sri Ramakrishna agreed to go if he felt well. After Yajnanath's departure, the master went into an ecstatic mood. He said to the Divine Mother, "Mother, what is all this? Stop. What are these things thou art showing to me? What is it that thou dost reveal to me through Rakhal and others? The form is disappearing. But mother, what people call man is only a pillowcase, nothing but a pillowcase. Consciousness is thine alone." So that's the concept of the Panchakosha. That is body, the mind, the intellect. All these are just like the pillowcases. The various layers of our misconception, misidentification of the self. The Annamaya Kosha, the Pranamaya Kosha, the Manomaya Kosha, the Vijnanamaya Kosha, the Anandamaya Kosha. So this, we are falsely identifying ourselves with these 5 layers of existence. The real me, which is Nitya Suddha Buddha Mukta Swabhava, which is eternally present, is identifying itself with the body, which is a flow. Constantly it is changing. Pranamaya. Sometimes we are energetic, sometimes we are sick. It's again a flux, it's a change. With that we identified. Manomaya, the thoughts, perceptions, feelings, all in the mind, constantly in a state of flow, constantly changing. Not for a moment it stays in the same state. With that we identify wrongly. We identify with the Vijnanamaya Kosha, the intellect, the Anandamaya Kosha. That whenever we are in deep sleep, it's not that I don't exist. When I wake up, I know I was sleeping. When I was sleeping, I was in a state of tranquility, peace. That's the Anandamaya Kosha. So that is also a change. It doesn't remain permanent. We wake up, we don't feel it. When desire is satisfied for the time being, the bliss which we feel, that's our identification with the Anandamaya Kosha. But we don't continue in that state. Again, we fall back to this state of eternal chase after the desires. That we never get fulfillment. So all these 5 koshas cannot be the self. The self which is eternal, which has no modification, which has no change, it cannot be the self. So the self is the one which is the core of our existence, and all these are the various layers of ignorance which covers that the self. That's what Swami Ramakrishna is indicating. That what he's saying, that what is that thou dost revealest to me through Rakhal and others. The form is disappearing. But mother, what people call man is only a pillowcase, nothing but a pillowcase. Consciousness is thine alone. The modern Brahmagyanis have not tasted the sweet bliss. They have not tasted thy sweet bliss. Their eyes look dry, and so do their faces. They won't achieve anything without ecstatic love of God. So that's the thing, that in our spiritual journey, that all the external ceremonies, when Sri Ramakrishna visited the Brahmo Samaj, he was very much piqued. He found it very funny that the Acharya sitting in the pulpit will say, now let's meditate. And he will be watching the time in his watch. And exactly after 5 minutes, he will say, now let's come out of the meditation. As if going to the meditation, coming out of the meditation, everything can be regulated by the watch. It was so regimented. And Sri Ramakrishna felt that this entire thing, this is just a regimentation, it is disciplining. But they have not yet achieved that, the love, the devotion. So that's why he's saying that they look so dry. The modern Brahmagyanis have not tasted thy sweet bliss. So this is the interesting thing. You will find that why we should read the gospel. Why? Even in the present day, in the name of spirituality, we find that we are all so much engrossed in the external paraphernalia. There's a lot of pomp and show. There's that a huge communion. It all speaks of this pomp and show, glamour. But the real essence, to have the love of God, to feel the love of God in your heart, how many of us really take religion that way? So that's why this gospel is so significant, so important. Again and again, he is just indicating that to develop that love of God, the devotion of God, is the be-all and end-all of our spiritual journey. Ishwar labhi bhagavan jivaner uddeshya, to realize the divine and to relate to him through that love, that alone is the be-all and end-all of our religious journey. If we don't have that, then that's what Sri Ramakrishna is indicating, that for most of us, that's what religion at last ends up, in some dry philosophy without giving us the joy of the communion with the divine. So the spiritual journey, as we always say, that all our practices should lead to that devotion. Our incessant practice should lead to that devotion. Our practice alone can lead us, that if we have sense of necessity that we have to go to that, we have to attain the divinity in this life, that necessity is there, and that helps us in pursuing our spiritual journey. Today or tomorrow we will find that love is developing. It is bound to. And then the real spiritual journey starts. That love itself will entail in spontaneous meditation. And that will take us to that highest goal, which has been spoken of as samadhi in our spiritual text. That the so-called meditation through resolution has to get matured into a spontaneous meditation, where the love comes into being. Without love, there cannot be any meditation. Without devotion, there cannot be any meditation. As we say again and again, that we find that the object which we love, we never have to willfully meditate on that. That whatever we may be doing, I will find that my mind, a part of my mind is always contemplating on that. As Sri Ramakrishna used to say, that it is just like the toothache. When I have toothache, whatever I may be doing, can I forget the toothache? No. A part of my mind is always registering that ache. So Sri Ramakrishna used to say that your love of God should become like the toothache. That whatever we may be doing, a part of our mind should always be engaged in the contemplation of divine, And that also not mechanically, through devotion, through love. So to feel the living presence of the divine in your heart and to relate to it through love, that alone entails in spiritual evolution. So that's why Sri Ramakrishna is saying that all this which you see is so superficial. They have not yet got the taste of the divine. It is just mere paraphernalia. They are just busy with the, what is this, fencing. A plant, a small sapling needs a fence so that it is not fed upon. It is not being fed upon by any grazing animal. It has to be protected. But when the plant grows, there is no need of that fencing. So for most of us, religion means that fencing. We never outgrow. We never outgrow with that. We remain as if encircled within that fencing alone. That's what Swami Vivekananda used to say so nicely, that it is good to be born in a church, but it is horrible to die there. So it's good that we have been born. We are within the bounds of certain practices, disciplines, certain do's and don'ts of religion. That shouldn't be the be all and end all of our spiritual journey. We have to outgrow that. And that outgrowing happens only when the devotion dawns in our heart. And that happens again through the practice. Ei Harinam nite nite bhakti mukul futbechite. Go on taking the name of God sincerely. And this will entail in this blooming of the bud of devotion which is in our heart. In everyone's heart, the devotion is there, potentially there. Is in the form of just a bud. It will bloom if you go on chanting the name of God ceaselessly with full devotion out of necessity, that I have to go out of this quagmire called worldly existence and be in eternal communion with the divine. This necessity should entail in constant practice. That, as we say, that will resort, that's how we will be resorting to the neuroplasticity. A path will be created on our mind. Once the path is created, the love develops naturally. That's how the love happens for all our desires. That out of necessity, when we go on repeating again and again, in the form of thought or in the form of action, we go on doing certain thing again and again, it as if creates a path in the mind. Once the path is created, we forget the necessity, we become obsessed. We become obsessed, we as if fall in love with what we are doing. And that's what has to be done even in the spiritual journey. We have to get obsessed by our thought of the divine. And once that happens, once the groove is created, now I need not bother. With that groove, our devotion also will be developing. And once the devotion develops, that devotion itself will entail in spontaneous meditation, at last taking us to that higher spiritual realization, where the mind gets totally absorbed in your object of meditation, and the ego also falls off, making you identified with your object of meditation. And that's the state in which the ego falls off and takes you to that highest state of spiritual realization. So that love alone can take us there. So that's why Sri Ramakrishna is saying that without that love, even for a jnani, the one who is constantly contemplating that aham brahmasmi, that there should be some devotion in that chanting, that he loves to contemplate on that fact. It doesn't speak of realization, but yes, that's why even in Viveka Chudamani, we find bhakti has been defined. What it has been defined as? The one who has love for the contemplation on Brahman. At the very beginning, we find Bhagavad Pada Shankaracharya in Vivek Chudamani, which is one of the Prakarana Grantha of this Jnana, of this Advaita Vedanta. Bhakti is of Jnana Marga. There also bhakti has been prescribed, it has been described. Without that, there cannot be any spiritual evolution. So that's what Sri Ramakrishna is indicating by saying that they have not tasted the bliss the bliss of the divine. Their eyes look dry, and so do their faces. They won't achieve anything without ecstatic love of God. The master went to others' house where arrangements were being made for the kirtan. Many devotees and neighbors had gathered in others' drawing room, anxious to listen to the master's word. Master to the devotees. Both worldliness and liberation depend on God's will. It is God alone who has kept man in the world in a state of ignorance. And man will be free when God, of his own sweet will, calls him to himself. It is like the mother calling the child at mealtime when he is out playing. When the time comes for setting a man free, God makes him seek the company of holy men. Further, it is God who makes him restless for spiritual life. So even in the Bhagavad Gita, the same idea we find has been indicated in the 15th chapter, this Purushottama Yoga, that where God as a Purushottama, as the Supreme Godhead, what he is saying? Matta smritir jnanam apohanam cha. Matta. That from me alone comes what? Memory, knowledge, forgetfulness. This smriti jnana apohanam. Memory, knowledge. So what it means? That both knowledge and forgetfulness. That we are the ultimate conscious principle. That's the knowledge. We are that. But somehow, because of ignorance, we are forgetful about it. We have forgotten that we are the conscious principle. We take this world of name and form to be real, this body to be real, and in constant chase after the pleasures of life, forgetting that I actually need nothing. I am ever fulfilled, I am eternal. So this speaks of that from me only, that jnana, that we being the eternal conscious principle, that's the knowledge of which we have forgotten. And again, the God as the memory helps us to come out of this forgotten state and again attain the state of liberation. So the Krishna is both the knowledge leading to liberation, forgetfulness leading to the worldly attachment. Both arise from him, and man cannot by himself attain realization unless God's grace awakens memory. By God's grace, again the memory is awakened, that smriti of the soul's true nature. So from him only, that's how nicely in the Gita has been mentioned, matta smritir jnanam apohanam cha. So this is what Bhagavan, even here Sri Ramakrishna is indicating, that everything happens by God's will. That as we say, that sometimes we say that this statement makes us a bit confused. Then why this spiritual, this our attempt? That's what Sri Ramakrishna is saying, that when I am trying to be free, that this also is the grace of the divine. By his grace only, I have developed that earnestness to attain that higher spiritual evolution. This idea can be wonderful, it can be nicely understood with one of the allegory which Swami Vivekananda uses. What he says? Very nicely he says that with our eyes I can see everything, but I cannot see my own face. To see my own face, I need a mirror. Similarly, the only one conscious existence, he is ever fulfilled, he is eternal, but he is as if not aware of his nature. To be aware of his nature, just the way I need a mirror to see my own face. So the ultimate conscious principle also needs a mirror. So he created this world. And then just the way when I am desiring to see my own face, I am in search of a mirror. Most probably first I go near a pond with whose water is very, very dirty, impure water, turgid water. So I just see the outline of my body, of my face, of my body, I am not satisfied. It is just a mere outline. And then I am in quest to see my real form. And then I search, and at last I find a pond whose water is clean, and whose water is, there is no waves on it, calm. I stand in front of it, I see much clearer reflection of mine. But still, it's a bit hazy. I'm still not satisfied. Then most probably I manage to get a shining metal surface. There the reflection is still better, but it's not exact replica of me. I search, then most probably at last I get a mirror, but it is full of dirt, and it is not plain. It has curved surfaces, so my image gets distorted, and the mirror being full of dirt, again the image, my reflection is not clear. My search continues at last to get a plain mirror without any abnormalities, clean, and then I am satisfied. Oh, this is my reflection. And then all these mirrors I leave off. I throw up, because my quest was to see my own face. When I have seen, I have a sense of fulfillment, and there is no need of the mirror. So Swamiji is saying that's what the self is. This coming to this quagmire of ignorance is as if to know its real nature. In the lower forms of life, it is fully attached to the world of the senses. It's not that he doesn't have the inkling of the self. We always have. The self that which we are seeing. What the self we are seeing? Because whenever we are in chasing after the pleasures of life, now and then we do get the reflection of our real self in the form of bliss, in the form of ananda. For that, Swami Vivekananda gives another allegory. What's that allegory? That our mind is just like a lake, and our real nature is just like the bottom of the lake, which is Satchidananda Swarupa. When there is a wave on the surface of the lake, this Ananda Swarupata gets obscured. We are never forgetful about our existence. I am. That Sat Chit, Sat Swarupata, Chit Swarupata. This never gets obscured. I am always aware of that. But Ananda Swarupata gets obscured because of all the waves in the mind. And when I am having an intense desire, there is a big wave in the mind which has engulfed all other waves. You will find that when I have an intense desire, my mind gets fully focused. I have to get it. All other small desires falls off. The big wave has engulfed all other waves. And when I get that, immediately I am at ecstasy, in a state of ecstasy. And what's the ignorance? I think that object has given me happiness. But actually what has happened? The moment I get the object of my desire, for the time being, that all the waves in our mind, which was disturbing the mind, which was not allowing the Ananda Swarupata to percolate through the mind, now that filtering factor has washed off for the time being. The mind is calm. The bliss comes from within, the Ananda Swarupata of ourselves. From that the bliss is coming. But because of ignorance, I think that external object has given me pleasure. And that's how that we find that now and then do we see just for the being our real nature, and again it's gone. If you go to Vrindavan, there is this Krishna temple where there is the Jhaki Darshan. Constantly, you cannot see Krishna. Constantly. There's a screen constantly being closed and opened. You can just see for a fraction of a moment, and again it's closed. Again it will open, again it will close. It actually depicts what's happening for lives together. That in our attempt to realize the bliss of our own self, is all these so-called mirrors, imperfect mirrors, doesn't allow me. I just get a Jhaki Darshan, just a fraction of moment, and then again it's gone. And then through this process, as I go from life after life, a time comes That's again the grace. When I do realize that after all I am already eternal, I am always fulfilled. I was trying to realize that eternity and fulfillment through this body-mind complex, and that has created this sense of unfulfillment. If I just stand aside, not get identified with the flow, I am already that. And to realize that, we need that clean mind to remain as a constant state. That what we were getting for just fraction of moment, that should be the constant state. And when that is that constant, when I stop running after the desires, running after the small pleasures of life, then the mind is no more disturbed anymore. It reaches the state of calmness. That's why in the Upanishad again and again the word dhira has been used. That kaschid dhira pratyagatma naikshat avritta chakshu amritatvam icchan. Kaschid dhira, the calm one. The calm one is the wise one. He has understood that to see my real reflection, the mind has to be calm. That's the perfect mirror, cleansed mirror. And then I see my real self, and then the work is done. So now the entire process was nothing but the will of the divine. It is he to just realize his own nature has gone through this entire process in the form of this forgetfulness. He is the one who is absolute reality. He goes through this state of forgetfulness. At last, the smriti, this memory comes back to take him back to that ultimate realization. This forgetfulness and this memory. This we find even in our day-to-day life it happens. That is called the Chamika Nyaya. That a lady is wearing a necklace. And as she is busy with the household work, suddenly she forgets that the necklace is there round her neck. Most probably the sari she is adorning, that sari has covered it. And suddenly she thinks that she has lost it. Most probably she has kept somewhere and it has been lost. And now she is in frantic search of the necklace. She is asking everyone, have you seen the necklace? And then someone points out, oh, what a nice lady you are. It is there around your neck. Around your neck it is hanging. And then she removes the fold of the sari to find, oh, it's already there. So this speaks of that we never actually lost it. It was already with us. We were just forgetful about it. And again the memory comes back. The forgetfulness bringing back the memory. That memory again brings back and establishes me in my real nature. So this is the thing which is going on for each and every being. That we are all destined to be spiritually evolved, because that's our real nature. It's not something we have to attain. It is already there. That's why you will find in Bhagavad Gita the words has been chosen wonderfully. Whenever the attainment of the self is concerned, they never speak of prapti. The word which has been used is apti. Prapti is apraptasya prapti. Prapti. The thing which is aprapta, which is not with me, it is something apart from me I have to attain. That is prapti. And what is apti? Praptasya prapti. The thing I already have, I just forgetful about it. To get it is apti. So the entire spiritual journey is not to attain something, is not prapti. It is apti, aptikaran. In Sanskrit the word apti is such a nice word, which speaks the thing which you already have, you are forgetful about it, and just to get back the memory of it. And that's the spiritual journey. And that happens as if the God who is eternal, who is all-knowing, who is ever fulfilled, to realize his own nature, that he is free. He is going through this entire process and then he is satisfied. So that's what Sri Ramakrishna is saying. Everything is happening by his own will, by the will of the God. That we can realize it only when we have got out of the ignorance. It's very difficult to realize it within the bond of ignorance. Just the way within the dream we never feel that we are dreaming. It's only when the dream is broken, then we know we were dreaming. It is me who was dreaming all the things. Nothing actually has changed. I am just the same person who was before I went to sleep. And when I wake up, the same. The one who went to sleep, the one who came out of the sleep is the same person. And all the changes which I saw in the dream were just mere like illusion, imagination. It has not changed me at all. Somehow the dream came and made me forget my nature, my real nature. I was getting nightmare. Actually, there was nothing to fear. But why I was afraid? Because I forgot my nature. And I got identified with the dream. So the dream breaks, I know who am I. So that's the thing which Sri Ramakrishna is indicating. The God is going through all this state just to, by his own will, to realize what he is. So what kind of the enabler? And then Sri Ramakrishna says, in the last few lines, when the time comes for setting a man free, God makes him seek the company of holy men. Further, it is God who makes him restless for spiritual life. So he becomes restless. I have to attain that. So now the devotee asks, what kind of restlessness? Enabler, what kind of restlessness, sir? Sri Ramakrishna, like the restlessness of a clerk who has lost his job, he makes the round of the offices daily and asks whether there is any vacancy. When that restlessness comes, man longs for God. A fop seated comfortably with one leg over the other, chewing bitter leaf and twirling his mustaches, a carefree dandy cannot attain God. So that's the nice way of Sri Ramakrishna making us visualize. Just think of such a person, very foppish, stylish, foppish, just relaxing, chewing the betel leaf as if there is nothing to worry about, and he's just twirling his mustaches. That the mustaches, whenever I hear of this, we read about his mustaches, it makes us remember of Swami Vivekananda's that wonderful phrase, mustached babes, that we are all those mustached babes, that we have grown mustaches full of ego. We think we are grown up, we are adult, but actually we are babes. So such babes actually we find Sri Ramakrishna is also speaking of, twirling his mustaches, carefree dandy, just as if he has nothing to worry about. Such person can never attain God. The tremendous that I have to get a job, that the person, the way he's just running from door to door in search of job. So that way, do we feel that I have to be one with the divine? That as Sri Ramakrishna in some other context has said a very nice thing, that how can you say that you have developed love for God when you are leading the so-called a very complacent life? And then he is to say, just think of a thief sitting in a room and he knows that his adjacent room, which is locked, is full of treasure, is full of gold, full of this golden diamonds and gold. Can he just sit there quietly, complacently? No, impossible. He will be restless. When I get a chance to break that lock and enter and get the wealth. So if we know that our self is eternal, ever fulfilled, what the scripture says, if we had real faith in that, could we be so complacent in our life? Impossible. That speaks that what we say as faith is just mere words. It's not something which is felt within. We are just speaking that I have devotion. If the real devotion was there, we would have been so complacent. That's what Sri Ramakrishna is saying. He's just like that person who has lost his job. The way he's frantically searching job. So that way, am I frantically searching? Though it is with me, I forgot. And that makes me search it frantically. Till that forgetfulness is gone and I realize, and then only I can be really complacent. The spiritual complacence is a thing which comes as the ultimate stage of our spiritual evolution. Before that, if we are complacent, we must be assured of the fact that we have got stuck up in the milestone. Maybe we have attained a little calmness, we have attained some siddhis, and we take it to be the highest spiritual goal and got stuck up there. So that's why Sri Ramakrishna is warning us that if you see such a person, complacent person, know it for certain he cannot attain God. He has got stuck up. So even in the Yoga Sutra, very nice that they speak of this meditation, going to the state of samadhi to attain the state of kaivalya, that all this leads to the state of kaivalya. Kaivalya means the liberation. Why that these words are very significant. Kaivalya means when you realize that there is no need for prakriti. Kevala means only, that I alone exist by my own right. I don't need the support of anything. So you have then attained the state of kaivalya, that loneliness. That's the liberation. So that ultimately that this kaivalya, that which we are supposed to attain, when we will attain. In Yoga Sutra, that's the question naturally anyone asks, that all the practices which leads to the kaivalya, what's the duration? I know in academic courses there's a duration for such and such course, 3.5 years, 4.5 years, 2 years. What's the duration for the spiritual evolution? And the Yoga Sutra, there's a nice sutra. What is the sutra? Tivra Sangveganam Asanna. There is no fixed time. The one who has Tivra Sangvega, a very intense earnestness. As Sri Ramakrishna used to say, that earnestness, the yearning, is just like the red hue of the dawn. In the morning, even if you look at any weather app, you will find that sunrise is at 7 o'clock, but the first sunlight, that breaking of the darkness, is at 6:30. So the sun is not yet visible, is yet to rise, but we find the sky is full of light. So when I see that red hue of this in the early dawn hours, I know that in another half an hour or in another 25 minutes, the sun will be visible. So that's why Sri Ramakrishna is saying that yearning is just like the red hue of the dawn. What it means? That in no time the sun will be visible. Means in no time we will be, just the way you see the sun, you will see your own self. You will realize your own spiritual nature. That's the sunrise. So that's why it's the red hue of the dawn. So that's why Sri Ramakrishna is indicating that we need that restlessness, tremendous restlessness, without which there cannot be any spiritual evolution. Neighbor, can one get this longing for God through frequenting the company of holy men? Master, yes, it is possible, but not for a confirmed scoundrel. A sannyasi's kamandalu, made of bitter gourd, travels with him to the 4 great places of pilgrimage, but still does not lose its bitterness. So what it means? That there are so many people visiting the holy person, but maybe have some different motivation for visiting. Just in English they say, a pickpocket sees only the saint's pocket, not the wisdom of his words. When it's a huge congregation, a saint is most probably addressing the people, and there's a pickpocket waiting. He has somehow have sensed that is in his pocket there are some few currency notes. So he's not hearing a single word what he's saying. His just full attention is on his pocket when he gets the chance to steal those currencies. Nothing else. So it's not just your association with the holy man. What's your attitude? With what earnestness have you went there? That's important. That's why Sri Ramakrishna is saying, but yes, it is possible, but not for a confirmed scoundrel. Means the one who has no spiritual inclination, just by being in the presence of a holy man is of no use. As we find when Swami Sharadananda, the direct disciple of Sri Ramakrishna, he was in Udbodhan, that he was the General Secretary of the Ramakrishna Order, and he was stationed in Udbodhan, one of our centers, the publication center. And one day a person came and told, I came for holy company, Sadhu Sangha korte eshechi. I came for Sadhu Sangha karne aaya. I came for holy company. And then Swami Sharadananda, Sharat Maharaj, told a very interesting thing, that when Sri Ramakrishna was in Dakshineshwar, All the temple officials, the management, the other priests, they were all near him. How many of them have been spiritually illumined, have spiritually progressed? It was just the opposite, contrary. They thought him to be a mad person. Seeing him, that behaving like a mad person because of the tremendous spiritual impression, they thought him to be a mad person. In what way have they benefited? So that's the thing. Unless it's not just a mere company, unless with a proper attitude, with proper shraddha, with proper conviction that here is the man who can deliver me from all my limitations, I go and take refuge in him. There cannot be any sadhu sangha. So that's why in the Narada Bhakti Sutra we find that there is a very nice sutra which speaks of that Mahat Sangastu Durlabha Agamya Amoghascha. This Durlabha, it's not easy. That you may be in the Agamya. Agamya is very interesting. That many people are not interested at all. They have never got the chance to be near him. That speaks of this is difficult to attain. Durlabha. And Agamya is very interesting. There are so many people who are near him, but in no way can understand that he is a holy person. That even in Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan says the same thing. That the people take me to be an ordinary person. They never understand my divine nature. So that's what happens with so many people. They cannot understand. But somehow, if anyone has understood him to be a saint, to be an incarnation, and had taken refuge in him, there is that real holy company happens. And its result is something which no one can alter. That's what is meant by amogha. It never fails to produce the result. That's what is meant by amogha. Very nice sutra. Mahat Sangastu Durlabha. First, many never get the chance to meet a holy person. That is Durlabha. And Agamya means those who are near him, even amongst them, most of them never understand that he is a holy man. But those who have understood and taken refuge in him, that the result is bound to happen. As Sri Ramakrishna's, that today we will end the class, that story we say so many times. The story of that witch, which Swami Vivekananda related in Camp Percy. He was resting in Camp Percy. He was camping there and he was resting because he was tired of lectures in the West. So in States, in Camp Percy, one day while just relaxing with a small group of devotees, he related this story. That Sri Ramakrishna used to say that there was a witch which used to stay in the deep forest just by the side of a huge reservoir. And from the village, nearby village, the people used to come to have a dip in that reservoir. Now if the witch was hungry, it will simply grab that person and devour it. But if it was not hungry, it won't let you go. Because when I am hungry, I may not get my prey. So what she is to do now, she is to tie one of her hair on the toe of that person. And the person won't notice. She had the capacity to do it in such a way that the person won't notice at all. She will unnoticingly she will go and tie the hair on the feet, and that hair had a characteristic that if you go on dragging it, it will go on elongating. So the person will take his dip in that reservoir, he will have his bath, and now he returns back to his village. After that, throughout the day's work, most probably in the evening, he has his dinner, and now he has retired to his bed, and now the witch is hungry. Now she will start pulling the hair and drag that person and devour that person. The Sri Ramakrishna used to say this story. And what's the indication? That is amogha. This unfailing, that once you have been really in the company of holy man, knowing very well that he is a holy man, and you have prayed earnestly for your deliverance, some may be liberated immediately. He has that capacity. For some, he may feel he has to go through the world's experiences still more. So let him go back to his village, have his food, have his dinner. So let him go back, be with the world. But know it for certain that the moment he feels he is hungry, the moment he feels that now is the time for his liberation, he has to become identified with me, he will be dragging you and devouring you. So that's the idea. So this, unless this holy company is really happening. So there are so many people who may be near the holy person, but that doesn't entail in that so-called, that real yearning for the divine. So but if you really have that substance, then know it for certain, it is amogha. That's why Sri Ramakrishna is not denying what he is saying. Yes, it is possible, but not for a confirmed scoundrel. For many it is agamya. These confirmed scoundrels are those for whom it is agamya. A sannyasi's kamandalu, that is giving an example, made of bitter gourd, so travels with him to the 4 great places of pilgrimage, but still does not lose its bitterness. The kamandalu, that was how in the olden days the sadhus used to cleanse the water, detoxify the water, so that the bitterness of that kamandalu, which was made of this bitter gourd, that the idea was that it has the capacity to remove all the toxins which are in the water, because they have to take water. So, but in the process, the water, that the kamandalu, after all this bitter gourd, that is the bitter, the water also gets a bit bitter. So this kamandalu is traveling with the monk to all the holy places, but it doesn't loses its bitterness. So that's why, unless we have surrendered to that holy person, have known him with certainty that he is the one who can deliver me from all this bondage, and have relied and surrendered to him, we may be in association with him, but just like the kamandalu of that sadhu, our bitterness won't be gone. We will be still carrying that bitterness, that all the taints, all the impurities, the taints, the impurities, that won't be washed away unless we can relate to him through faith, through devotion. So that's what Sri Ramakrishna is indicating. So we will continue with the remaining portion of this chapter again in the next class. So with this, we conclude our discussion today. Thank you all. Namaskar.